Welcome to the Black Box of Media, brought to you by Ultimate Edge Communications. I'm your host, Aleisha McCall, and this is episode 4. Thank you for joining us today. This is the podcast that lifts the lid on the hidden strategies behind performance media advertising. If you've ever wondered why some campaigns deliver incredible results while others fall flat, this is where we break it all down. In each episode, I sit down with marketing experts, media buyers, and brand leaders to reveal the tactics, insights, and real-world case studies that drive results. No fluff, no jargon, just actionable advice to help you cut through the noise and make media work harder for your business. Whether you're a CMO, a marketing manager, or a business owner that's looking for an edge, this is your backstage pass to results-driven marketing. So let's unlock the black box of media and transform the way you think about advertising. Now, today's theme is how a charity achieved record-breaking results for 6 years straight. We are going to look at the return on ad spend playbook and what actually needs to happen to make those results come to life. So the whole premise here is, what if small, consistent improvements could lead to game-changing results? We're going to break down the strategies behind a charity achieving these outcomes and look at how you can do that efficiently. We're going to uncover the power of compounding, of the 1% improvements, the secrets to massive impact on a lean budget, and how media partnerships can really help you take your results and exposure to the next level. So if you want to know exactly what levers to pull at each stage of the customer journey, this is the episode for you. So I'm thrilled to announce our podcast guest for today from the Children's Medical Research Institute, Lorel Colgin. Now, Lorel, and when I say Lorel, I mean Dr. Lorel Colgin, is Head of Marketing and Communications at the Children's Medical Research Institute in Sydney. She earned her PhD in pathology from the University of Washington in Seattle, and for 15 years, she conducted high-impact research into aging, cancer, and telomeres. She switched careers in early 2012, first working in science communication and grant writing, before obtaining a master's in marketing at Monash University. For the past 13 years, she has led the strategic brand strategy for CMRI Genes for Genes and manages a high-performing team responsible for all communications and marketing for the Institute, including media relations, websites, social media, and advertising. She's also a mother to a gorgeous teenager with autism and a novelist. This woman is a busy woman. So thank you so much, Lorel, for joining us and being here with us today to share your insights.
Thank you, Aleisha. And I know you're a busy woman as well. So it's nice for both of us to have a chance to talk about marketing.
That's exactly right. To actually go through and go, okay, what are these strategies that have worked so well and how can we share them with other marketers?
Yeah, just stop running like a rat on a wheel and
That's it. So, Lorel, maybe you can start by sort of telling us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your role at the Children's Medical Research Institute and how it relates to media advertising and marketing.
So, as you mentioned from my bio, I've been head of marketing at Children's Medical Research Institute Genes for Genes for a little more than 13 years now. It's gone by really quickly. But I started as a scientist, doing the research on the ground. So I know the business from the ground up. But one of the things that got me into marketing and communicating science was the need for money to do more research. And I wanted to do my part. And marketing was where it was at. Like, if we could get people to know and care about what we do and how important it is and get the funding for it, then we can, make a big impact on society and the health of children everywhere. So that's what got me to change careers, and it started when I had a son of my own, of course.
Absolutely. It's pretty motivating, right? So maybe you could give the audience a bit of background on the Genes for Genes campaign and how it works and the key times of year and stages that you go through, because what we're going to do is we're going to dig in to some of these small things that actually have a big impact to help marketers really understand what are the strategies and tactics that actually drive better return on ad spend and better results. And you've obviously are a great example of the results that we've been able to achieve over sort of 6 consecutive years to consistently increase that return on the investment.
Yeah, so Genes for Genes is the main marketing campaign for Children's Medical Research Institute. So we do lots of other things throughout the year, everything from bicycle riding campaigns and other ways to fundraise. But Genes for Genes is our flagship, and it's known and loved. It's been around for more than 30 years now, and lots of Australians did it when they were at school, and we're trying to get it back into
Well, I
school.
still remember. I still remember going to school on a Friday with my jeans, with my $1 coin donation. That's where I was introduced to the charity.
Yeah, and it came about because, we needed to raise funds for this like new area of research that we're getting into that's important for, finding cures for cancer, important for helping the 1 in 20 kids who are facing, a birth defect or a genetic disease. So there's a big issue that needed to be addressed. And, the funding wasn't there if we didn't go directly to the public and appeal for it. And that launched Genes for Genes Day, which for a very, very long time has been the first Friday in August. But actually, we're changing it this year to the first Thursday in August, which is the first big change in 30 years.
Wow, that's pretty huge.
And that's just an adaptation to the post-COVID world where nobody goes into work on a Friday anymore. You used to be able to I'm wearing my jeans to work on a Friday, I'm paying a gold coin and I'm doing my part, and it's novel and interesting. No, nobody's
Times have changed now, right? Thursday is the new Friday.
Thursday is the new Friday.
But again, a great example, you have to adapt, you have to evolve, you have to change the strategy based on what the
Yes.
market's doing. So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to put that in my head. We're planning for Thursday this year. So tell me, Laurel, as we get into the detail and we get into the campaign specific stuff, what do you think, what was the role did the small, consistent 1% improvements play in your digital advertising and your overall media strategy over consecutive years? Can you talk to some of those elements and what that ethos that we had for those campaigns really, and how that made a difference to the return on ad spend?
Yeah, so as a charity, we have a very small budget, which we have to make go a really, really long way, and that means we have to dive into the black box of our advertising and everything else we do, and understand all of the little mechanisms, and try to make some of those 1% adjustments, because everybody talks about the 1% having a big effect, and it's true. You look at a graph and you change the angle down here by 1%, like your graph is like totally different place further on over time, and so that's where time is important as well. So having consistent review and adjusting things by 1% or 1% just whenever you can, and over a period of 6 years has huge results. So there's a lot of paying attention to the details, but also consistency and keeping things going for a long period of time. And that's what you have to do when you have a small budget. You can't throw a ton of cash at something for a short-term fix. You have to think long-term and steer this gigantic boat of a ship as best you can.
It's a great way to explain it, because it's exactly what you have to do to be able to make a little go a long way. Now, as part of that, as you know, we had to set up a lot of sophisticated tracking, and you have quite a complex ecosystem at CMRI of the different MarTech stacks that you need to manage across. You've got people coming to your website, then you've got some people that go and donate, some people that go and register to fundraise, and then you've got others that go and shop and have an experience online buying merchandise. So can you talk to the marketers out there about the way in which you approached setting up the tracking platforms to be able to actually get that granular view of where are my customers going, what journey are they going through, what are the different touch points in the funnel, and how can I track and measure that so that when I get to the point where I want to look at the 1% improvements, I actually have something to look at? Because I think, you probably had one of the more complex setups and complex journeys in making that happen that we had to work through to get that all visualized. So
well, I would say thank you for setting Aleisha,
it was a team effort.
But yeah, I do know where you're coming from, because I mapped out our website architecture one time when I think when we were first we're moving CRMs to Salesforce, and I was like, okay, here's the map of the websites and who's going from where to here, and it's just like mind-boggling when you do that, because we have a research arm with a very research-focused website. We have a very fundraising charity arm that's much more community-focused and engaging with peer-to-peer and donations being accepted. We've got a shop, as you mentioned. We have multiple other websites, which I'm not even going to tell you about because they don't really matter for your tracking, but
Yeah.
but there's so much going on. Sometimes microsites, so many sources of, advertising from social media and, display, and, then we've got all of our above the line awareness advertising. And in the past, we did have a CRM where we were collecting information about offline donations, but there wasn't a lot of information about what was going online other than, we know we got a donation. This came in through the website. And we had Google Analytics, of course, but, that was, for this website or this website, and you're trying to piece everything together and you don't really get a holistic view, which is where your, 360 setup came in for us, which has been really fantastic, where you've been doing the cross-domain tracking and allowing us, to really, I think, more easily see how some of the same people go between one website to another, and they might engage in multiple activities, such as, buying a T-shirt online and signing up to fundraise or do a bake sale, and maybe next year they come back and they donate, around the time of year from social media posts. So there's a lot of stuff happening that we can see more as we dive into the detail, and the setup, of course, was complicated with technology changes. So we have to stay on top of it.
And that's the thing, right? Is like that and it often comes back to is while it feels quite complicated and quite overwhelming in the beginning, when I look at, where that was and where it is now, and the empowerment that you now have to be able to look at each of the websites independently, look at that customer journey, but then to be able to go, oh my gosh, there is like a really obvious gap there, that if we just fix these two things, we can close that gap and get our, increase, or get our improvement, get our a higher return on investment. So
yeah,
that
a big one for us is, it's not just getting donations, it's getting people to sign up to fundraise, for example. And, you're seeing that, like, maybe they're going to the website, but they're not taking that action. And so, being able to see right away where a pain point is, and knowing that, oh, maybe it's only the people that are coming from social media that are having this issue. So maybe they're not getting enough information. So we need to direct them to a different page where they can get some additional information to help make that decision to take that next step. And looking at that whole funnel allows us to just kind of tease out where the issues are.
Absolutely. Or like what we learned last year, sending people straight to donate. They weren't quite ready, but you send them back to register, but they want to get involved. So now they're getting involved in Bake It Blue or your other initiatives that you have going on, right? So it's just until you see it firsthand, it's very hard to predict what's actually going to happen. So when you think about where I want to get into now, this whole big impact on a small budget, because you guys have done an exceptional job of making that happen and really leveraging and making every dollar count. And I was telling, I've shared this story with you many times, Laurel, but when I talk to the team, if we've got a problem, it's like, look, guys, we're not curing cancer. Like, we've just got to think logically, make it happen. But with you guys, we feel like we are curing cancer because, we're a cog in the wheel to making that happen. So it becomes very serious and very real around the impact. But I wondered if you could share with us how brands and how you think brands can get a lot for a little when it comes to their media buying and their media advertising strategy, and then leveraging the partnerships, maybe the media partnerships and other partnerships in and around them to really make every dollar count.
Yeah, and I think that all comes down to your brand story. This is why I think, as much as you want to invest, all along the marketing funnel, and of course get those conversions, get people signing up, getting people donating, and do the action, you can't skip to the wedding. Is like we always like to talk. There has to be a bit of fortune. And
there's going to be a bit of dating first before you get married, right?
Yeah. We gotta like say hi. This is who I am. This is what I care about. And do we share some common values before we sign it up? So it's very, very important when it comes to a charity, because your identity as a donor is associated with the charities that you give to. So it you might be compelled to give a little bit to something that pulls on your heartstrings temporarily, but if it's a cause that you really want to continue to support for the long term, which is what we want. We want like people really engaged with us. We want them to really understand and care about what we're doing, and that requires that investment early on in the funnel in brand awareness and education about who we are, what we stand for, and finding the right people that align with that, and growing that audience so that eventually they'll take up some activity that directly supports the research because they care about it. And I think that applies to any brand, you got to get your customers to choose you above others that are offering something similar. What makes you stand out? What makes them believe, in what you're doing and associate their identity with what you're doing rather than what someone else is doing, and really pull out those points of difference and tell a story that they're proud to be a part of. And that's what we try to do with Jeans for Jeans. A lot of people take a lot of different tactics, but our tactic is one of like, that's hope. And there's a difficult problem out here we've got to solve, cancer or genetic disease, but the researchers are looking for the answers. They can do it if they just get some help from you. And so this is where you're important, and you come in and you give a donation or support in any way you can, and you're feeling good now because you're making a difference and that it has value where you put your dollar. So telling that story is really important to bring them along, and it's also important for getting those media partnerships and amplifying the results of your spend, because the people running media companies and deciding who gets this free slot,
or the CSAs or whatever.
Yeah, they're going to go, oh, I know Jeans for Jeans, what they're doing is great, I'll give that to them. So it's a bit of they have to believe in it too, because they're a part of the team. They might not be able to like donate directly, but they're doing their part to help.
They can feel like they've had an impact. Absolutely. And you've done a great job of thinking about different ways in which you can really tackle that awareness and consideration challenge. Because again, in a lot of instances, when you've got a little bit of a budget, it goes into the intention and conversion stage, right? And then the awareness and consideration stage gets forgotten. But you guys certainly haven't done that. You've leveraged, media, outdoor, radio, TV, and so on. But then you've also come up with other ways to be able to do that, like your meta advertising campaigns, where you do awareness before the campaigns, the competitions. Can you share a little bit about the tactical strategies that you've applied pre-campaign, early in the consideration stage, that are low cost but have really maximized results to enhance that overall return on your investment?
Yeah, so educating people about who we are ahead of time before we come in and ask them to do something is really important. And we're finding that we get a lot of our conversions on Meta. That's where the ads are really getting them to the point where they'll click and sign up. So it was key to do some early awareness advertising on Meta to educate more audiences before we gave them that ask. And you can do it, start this work even before you get to paid advertising. So that's where our early organic social media came in. So we were, building audiences. We were doing a bit of like boosted posts and acquiring likes and things, and testing creative and seeing what storytelling elements really affected people and got them engaged with us and our brand, and which audiences were working, and as well as the exact copy and images and videos and everything to use. So we got a lot of.
Well, actually, on that note, I'd love you to share. I'd love you to share the video insight that came off the back of that awareness campaign. That we all had an expectation and we were all proven wrong. So.
I know, it's one of those things that everybody says, people's attention spans are so short. You got to keep your social media like video content really short, and people are going to be bored and not pay attention. But no, consistently for the past 6 years, longest form of our TVC, the 41 seconds, has outperformed any other cut. And I think last year we tested 29 second again, just in case.
15, just in case. We're just going to check it one more time.
In case people change their mind. But no, we do continue to test different video content. There's lots of engaging stuff that works, but that one is still our gold standard. And it's because it's got a really compelling story that's hopeful, but also pulls on the heartstrings. So it does everything it needs to do. It's really winning creative, that it shows you if you just keep it going, for the 6 years, you keep being consistent, the message will get through, and people don't get tired of it, because it's like you'll watch an hour long or 2 hour long, sometimes a 3 hour long movie every day. So 41 seconds, so if it's good enough, isn't that bad?
That's exactly right. If it's good enough, they're going to watch. And that's the interesting thing. That's a great point as well. And I think part of the reason why we've been able to achieve such great returns on these campaigns, I don't think anyone knows you've actually kept the same creative message for 6 years.
Yes, and it's tough to do that because you get antsy, you get bored. It's and we do test out different copy, like in different, social media posts. We've even
Different kids, different
different kids. We do, different market research and test out, like, oh, should we emphasize it's 1 in 20 kids or 12 kids born every month, every minute? Yeah, there's different things that we try, and then we found that that core message consistently wins out, and also consistency is so important when you've got a small budget, because people can't be hearing a whole lot of different messages. It confuses them. If you only have a little bit of money to spend, keep saying the same thing over and over again until people understand it.
Correct. And that's I think as marketers, we can often get the need, or like what you said before, sort of get the need to go, right, I need to change this. I need to mix it up. It's too boring because we see it so much.
Yes,
but we have to
forget
that the audience doesn't see it. They're not seeing it. They're not sitting there editing it. They're not watching it as much as you. They are seeing it sometimes again for the first time. So what is actually proven in this strategy with the media tactics, the creative tactics, and that combination, and then making sure that you're targeting at the right stage of the funnel, that actually you can get a lot of longevity out of, one creative optimized over time.
Yes, and it's completely the best way to invest your money, I think, is to find what works and stick with it.
100%. Now, talk to me about this competition that you ran. So you ran a competition at the awareness and consideration stage of the funnel, a cute shoot, to really bring in, I think, win over hearts and minds, but also bring in a very engaged audience. And the reason I want you to mention this is because, again, low budget, low cost, done well, significantly amplifies and improves the opportunity to bring people in at the conversion stage of the funnel to then talk to them later. So can you share with the audience what that was about?
So it was really about trying to find some new audiences to support our cause. And, in the past, obviously you go for people that want to support charities, that they're hammered though with so much advertisement and so many, calls to support a lot of different charities. But we looked at, who we are and what we're doing and who we're serving, and that's parents, and that's kids that are benefiting from this. And so we wanted a way to reach more parents, and the way to a parent's heart is to glorify their child. And what parent doesn't want to share a photo of their kids? So it was easy to come up with the cute shoot. Let's share a cute photo of your kid, and we'll get it out there and have people vote for it, and you share it on your social media channels. And when you're sharing awareness of us and what we're doing, why it's so important, and why you've participated in this. It makes it look pretty good when you're like, I'm sharing this photo of my child for a good cause, but also isn't my child.
Also, I have a huge incentive to get my child, and maybe you can share with the audience where the winner went and how that was presented.
The winner would get a billboard in the major city nearest to them. So this is above and beyond showing the iPhone photo of your kid. This is a huge billboard that everybody in the city can see when they drive by. So it's the ultimate. It's like, look at my gorgeous kid reward. And so there was a lot of interest in people, winning that prize. And the media agency gave it to us because they love the concept too, and we got pro bono placement for that.
The amazing outdoor partners. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, they're so fantastic. But it really worked as an incentive for the parents as well. And they shared it across social media. We grew a lot of traffic to our website, but we also got a lot of unexpected donations. We wanted them, but they weren't what we were tracking in the campaign. They're a happy side effect, which actually ended up paying for the campaign. And we got shop sales, and we got some more great stories of kids and families affected by genetic disease, which we could share more broadly as well. So it was a win-win campaign.
And that's the thing, and that's the beautiful thing, is you think low cost, really strong tactic, able to capture hearts and minds, generating thousands of entries to then go in to the community to then be able to be retargeted at the next stage of the funnel. That is when you put all those pieces together, and then leveraging the media partnerships that we have in place with out of home and so on to say, okay, how can we further amplify this? Low budget, maximum reach, and that's where you can really start to get those extraordinary returns on investment, because again, it's been planned in advance. I mean, you guys are planning 6-12 months in advance, so you really are walking the walk in terms of making sure that you are planned out in advance and you are thinking about all of these opportunities that you can tap into to be able to get the leverage from the campaign so that we can generate these incredible results. And I think a lot of marketers out there at the moment are really struggling with the last minute approach. So, the brief, the campaign's got to go live in June and you're still writing the brief in May, and that just for you guys, you've always been planning in advance. So can you maybe talk to the audience about how you, with your team specifically, get planned in advance, get those briefs out nice and early? I mean, we receive our briefs every year, 3-4 months in advance, to be able to really think through the most strategic way in which we can deliver for you. And I know that has been a huge reason that we've also been able to achieve such great results, because everything is. So can you talk to the audience and maybe the marketers out there that are struggling with this, to sort of go, okay, this is how we get organized in advance? Because you always are. So.
Well, you have to be, and that's another way to be careful with your money as well. Don't spend it indiscriminately. Really, really think about what you're trying to achieve and what's the best way to achieve it, and then direct your funds accordingly. But we start right after the campaign finishes. Actually, while the campaign is running, we're making notes to ourselves like, oh, this is working, this is not working. We're adjusting on the go based on our 360 feedback and everything to see what works. But there's a lot of frenetic activity at that time. But as soon as the campaign's over, we try to get our post-campaign reports done as soon as possible and really dive into what worked and what didn't work, and what are we going to do again next year? What are we going to change or test next year? What are we just going to cut because it wasn't worth the spend? And you have to make those calls as well. That is like, it was nice to try this, but it's really not performing. Maybe we could try this and it might be worthwhile. But if I'm going to put my money in this thing that's obviously working versus the thing that is like, iffy, I put it in what's working. So
absolutely, and being willing to make those calls, right?
Yeah,
being willing to be wrong, where sometimes we did think, right, this is going to work really well.
But it could work. You never know. And that's the thing. You can't feel bad about it not working. It's my science background is like, it's just an experiment. You can't be like wedded to how the experiment is going to turn out. You got to look at the data and say, well, this is the answer and let's go with it, and it's good to get a result. It's worse to not have any knowledge of what to do next.
100%. I mean, I think we'd both agree we'd much rather have those double-digit return on ad spends each year than we would otherwise feeling good about ourselves being right. So,
So post-campaign, we pretty much know what we're going to do for next year, and we would get the brief to you even sooner, except that we have to find the next year's kids, and we have to film things and get images and get all of that stuff ready. But right afterwards, we're lining up the next year.
That's it, ready to go. No, I think it's integral to the success we've been able to achieve. Now, let's get into this tracking full funnel. So what's the key to integrating online and offline channels to get that complete picture of campaign performance? I know we've spoken about earlier about how we sort of had to restructure your tracking setup and look at your different properties and the way in which people engage with those, your main website versus your fundraising website versus your shop and so on. But what do you think is the key to integrating that so you can get the sort of full visibility that you now have, so that you can make, together we can sit down and make those decisions of, right, let's put the money here because this is where it's yielding the largest return on investment?
Yeah, I think it's really important to consider things just outside of your digital funnel, because usually, you're thinking about, I put, these meta ads out, and this was like, the impressions and they click through, and I got these many, visits to the page, and they can, you usually look at it in that direct line. But when you look at it holistically and you bring in data from like wider, direct and organic traffic to the website, which I feel is really fueled by your above the line and, outdoor and all of that radio advertising, which you don't, track direct links. It's just like the knowledge that you exist and what you're doing is driving people to your website. So you factor that in, and then you factor in, sort of what you're getting from your email tracking and what's in your CRM about, returning, people. And so you can see what are new audiences versus old audiences that come back. So you bring all of that information and you get a bigger picture, and you see where the digital element fits in comparison. And sometimes you put all of your effort on the digital because it's easy to see, and and you think, oh, this I can track. But when you look at the big picture, I often find that it's probably that above the line that's really driving most of like my traffic to the website. And this digital component is necessary to get like some people that when they see it come up to click to go and sign up now, and to give them that prompt. Some people are like so wedded to the brand that they will just search and sign up directly, which is what you really want. But
that's the utopia, right? It's what we're working towards.
Utopia. but in the interim, it's like you can see where the intention and conversion comes into play, because it's fueled not just by that early awareness on Facebook, of course, or wherever they're coming from, but also the broader awareness in the community is helping them get that social proof, and also decide to commit when they see the digital ad come up. So you can't just look at this one section.
That's exactly right. And then giving you throughout that funnel, you've then got to you can see, and now that we've got all that tracking set up, we can actually go, right, hang on, there's a real issue there. How do we solve it? And now what I'm finding is those teams are just coming together and going, right, we have to solve this problem. Let's solve it quickly. Here are the two things that we can do. And then sure enough, you get the improvement. So that constant and iterative feedback that we're now getting in that loop, and then the desire and the ability to act quickly and improve it. When you're running a campaign over 3 months, that's 90 chances, 90 days to be able to make an incremental improvement each day. And that's where you can get that transformative experience of achieving those double-digit return on ad spends. And we've seen that, firsthand with what you guys have been doing. So now if you think about, I think this would be really good for marketers out there, is the conversion playbook. So what specific levers do you think brands should pull at each stage of the funnel? Awareness, consideration, intention, conversion. You choose. I know you've got a lot of examples that you could share with us.
Many examples.
To drive that consistent success, right? So there's, maybe if you can give us a couple of examples of the different levers that can be pulled in different situations, maybe the video example and a few others, so that marketers can see this, what we've discussed today, in real context, to go, oh, okay, if I do these things, I can get a better result.
Yeah. So
what would be your words of wisdom, Lorel?
My words of wisdom are to really pay attention to what's going on and optimize, and not just go with we assume this is going to be what's going to work. You really do have to test, and you don't have a lot of time when you've got a small campaign. So like I say, maybe do some testing outside of the campaign period if you can, to come in with a good starting point, but still don't be wedded to what you've got, because situations change every day. So be willing to adjust on the go. But when you're looking at the marketing funnel, for example, when we're telling people that have heard about the cause and what we're doing, and the kids are great and stuff, and now we're asking them to sign up to do something, we often don't know what it is they want to do. And that's where we give them a few different ad options, like go wear jeans on Jeans for Jeans Day, or bake something and host a morning tea, or there's lots of different options. And so then when you display them, you can see what's winning, and then you go with it. And test in that process as well, because sometimes it's the video that converts, and sometimes it's the static image, and sometimes it's the contest, and it's different for every offering we find. And
every platform, every offering, every stage of funnel. I know, right? That's where it starts to get a bit complicated. But you guys have done a really great job of giving people the opportunity to choose their own adventure, I like to call. So, you've got your awareness messaging that we know has been delivered deliberately to them, and they are the first.
And that people need to know why I'm doing this, and then you give them some choice.
That's exactly right. Then you go into this consideration, you're giving them a lot of toys. So if you think about all the different fundraising activities you're giving them to consider at the consideration intention stage of the funnel, you've got skipping challenges, you've got Bake It Blue, all these different challenges going on. Then you've got the, hey, if that's not quite for you, you can go straight and you can donate. So for example, if you haven't got time, you can go through and donate. And then it's like, hey, well, if you just want to shop and buy a beanie and do whatever, go here. And then on top of that, hey, here's a competition. So I think as we bring people to the site, you're actually giving them a really quite a unique opportunity to select their own path and own journey of the way in which they can get involved. And I think sometimes as marketers, we get very fixed on, this is our offering. This is, this is what we need to
do, this or else,
that's exactly right. This is what we're doing. But you guys keep adding, you're willing to go, okay, well, that didn't work. That challenge didn't work. Right. Take that out, put a new one in. And then that constant and iterative process. And that's what I think our listeners can really get out of the willingness to do that constant and iterative process. The rewards are there. They're there in the double-digit return on ad spend, campaign after campaign.
And it's not a matter of throwing everything at them when they land on the website either, because that's too much choice. It's kind of figuring it out during the funnel process of what are they engaging with, and which ads do they like, and then directing them to the right path for them. And like you say, it has to change every year, because things go in fad, or people be like, oh, I don't want to do it every year, but something's different. I might try it this year this way. So So you have to keep testing.
Oh, absolutely. I think, yeah, we've definitely we've definitely had plenty of experience doing that for sure. And I do agree with you. Is the even though and it's a really good distinction that you just said. So I'm just going to clarify this. Even though you are giving them a lot of opportunities and a lot of different activities that they can engage with, you're very deliberate about when you give it to them. And that's a distinction in itself, because if you do just go in and bombard them all at once, they're going to jump out and you're going to lose them, right? You're going to have no time on site. But if you give it to them right time, right place, and you're listening to that feedback, looking at the data, taking the qualitative and the quantitative input, now you can really start to create an experience in which we go from the moment they come into the funnel to the moment they leave. Actually, that conversion experience, that customer experience, but the conversion is maximized.
For example, you can look at different audiences, like the cute shoot audience that you brought in. They might not be ones that, necessarily sign up to donate but they might go to the shop, and they tend to want to buy from the shop more. So you get a sense of, these different,
The
inlets.
levers. Yeah.
And the different levers, and then, which audience is going to respond to what, and direct them to the right place. And it's sometimes surprising.
Yeah, I know, I'm with you. Now, if you had one piece of advice, Laurel, that you could give to a marketing manager or a CMO as they're about, I mean, we're early 2025 right now, right? So they're about to, kick off their campaigns for the year. What is that sort of one piece of advice that you think is most important for them to focus on?
There's so many. I was like, so I have to choose just one. But what always comes back to it for me is the core of what is it that you're trying to achieve. Really know what you want as a result. And that kind of guides everything you do. And part of that comes from knowing who you are as a brand, and what your product is and what makes it stand out, and just really making that clear to everybody else as well. And take them where you want them to go. So be clear, because they're going to be lost if you don't know where you're going. So.
Spot on. No, very, very well said. Well, Laurel, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for being so open and sharing your insights and distinctions and ways in which, the Jeans for Jeans brand has been able to achieve such incredible results over consecutive years. It really is an incredible brand and a testament to you and the team to making it happen.
Oh, thanks so much, Aleisha. And thank you to everyone, and to everyone at Ultimate Edge for all the hard work they put in. You guys do go above and beyond to help us do what we do.
Well, we love the cause. We certainly feel a huge impact when we're working with you and the team, for sure. So look, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, the top insights from our conversation with Laurel. We've unpacked the power of small and consistent improvements to help maximize impact on lead budgets, and a game-changing role of media partnerships and what the role that they can play in helping you achieve your outcome as a marketer. So thank you for joining me on this episode of the Black Box of Media. If you found this valuable, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a fellow marketer. At the end of the day, it's all about helping each other to get the very best outcomes, whether that's in business or whether that's in not-for-profit. It all matters, because it's all about tapping into those strategies that actually make the difference and help you get the best possible results. So until next time, keep testing, keep optimizing, and let's unlock the Black Box of Media together.